This is the Dark Valley. We're playing the East Front campaign, 1941 to 1945. This is the situation at the end of November 1941. If you look far to the north, there's not really a great deal happening there because the Germans haven't got a Panzer Army chip for that area, and they're getting short of chits as the winter draws in. Now, there's going to be snow here soon. They haven't got a chance of getting much nearer to Leningrad at this particular point. If we go into this line here, that's sort of solidifying. The Germans have probably got a few too many units, but they are weak units in that area. We've got in the central front, the Soviets have been driven back into their line, their defensive works, outer Moscow defensive works, which are these red things here, which give them a little benefit when being attacked. They're retreating in areas. There's still gaps in the line, but the Soviets have the initiative next turn, so they'll be able to fill those gaps using either reinforcements or strategic rail transfers or replacements. In terms of down here, they've retreated from Smolensk, which fell this turn, but they'll probably rejig their defence around Bryansk in this area to bring the Axis to a halt as the winter comes in. Gaps in the middle here, there's still quite a few gaps here, but the terrain's difficult. It's hard to move through, and also the Germans haven't got any Panzer HQs in those areas, and they haven't got any strong units in there, so Russians should be able to fill those gaps and probably fall back onto the Dzina River here and form a proper defence line. In the area where Kiev fell, which is a bit of a blow to the Russians because it loses them 5 replacement factors. But considering Leningrad, Moscow, and Stalingrad and Engels over there aren't even remotely threatened, it's not the end of the world. Those being the blocks over here, each of these blue blocks gives you 5 replacement factors for the Soviets. In the area to the south, Soviets they're retreating, and they probably will be able to make a line here on the Dnieper River, though we're not entirely sure because there's this area here which is probably the biggest problem. Soviets are going to have to look and throw in some reserves into there. As I said, next turn the snow's going to arrive and the Soviets get the initiative. Also, those Soviet air units are starting to appear. They've caused quite a few little issues to the Germans because, well, you can only use them once per turn, but they're able to influence critical odds. So the Germans haven't been able to attack at 6-1 and stuff like that when they've wanted to. So they've got quite a few of those, but they're nowhere near as effective as the German air forces, which are able to do bombardments every round. There isn't a Soviet strategic air force for ages yet, but they are going to get a lot more assets. Soviet armoured assets have also played their part, but yet again they can only be used once per turn rather than round. Germans have been using their self-propelled guns, assets. They're available every round. That Romanian air asset hasn't really seen much use. So all in all, Russians are going to continue retreating just to shore up the line, but it looks like they're going to be able to hold a position far to the west of the historical line at the end of the year.